Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome. For those of you who don't know me, I think most people here know me, but I'm Tom Miles. I'm Dean of the Law School. And on behalf of the Law School and the Humanities Division and the Divinity School of the University of Chicago, it is a real pleasure to welcome you to this ceremony and this reception honoring our friend and colleague, Martha Nussbaum, the 2021 recipient of the Holberg Prize. Today's a very special occasion. It's the first time that I believe a current faculty member at the University of Chicago has received the Holberg Prize. And as Dean Ann Robertson just pointed out to me, this is also the first prize ceremony occurring in this building, the Rubenstein Forum. So it's a double first. The Holberg Prize is awarded annually to scholars who have made outstanding contributions to research in the humanities, social sciences, law, and theology. Prize recipients may focus on one of these fields or, through interdisciplinary work, touch on multiple fields. The Norwegian Parliament established the award in 2003 to raise awareness of the value of academic scholarship in humanities, social sciences, law, and theology. The Holberg Prize is administered by the University of Bergen on behalf of the Norwegian Ministry of Education and Research. The Holberg Prize is a serious honor. The Holberg Committee, chaired by Graham Turner, Professor Emeritus of Cultural Studies at the University of Queensland, gathers internationally renowned scholars in the disciplines of the prize. The committee then completes a scholarly assessment of the nominations and recommends to the Holberg Board an award winner. Past Holberg Laureates include British-Canadian scholar Griselda Pollock, British scholar Paul Gilroy, Harvard Law professor and our former colleague in the law school here at the University of Chicago, Cass Sunstein, German philosopher and sociologist Jürgen Habermas, Spanish sociologist Manuel Castells, and British philosopher Honora O'Neill. This year's Holberg winner, Professor Martha Nussbaum, will deliver a laureate lecture entitled Justice for Animals, Practical Progress Through Philosophical Theory. Traditionally, the Holberg Prize is awarded at a ceremony following the lecture in Bergen, and although we are disappointed we couldn't follow that pattern, we are delighted to be able to gather here today to celebrate this remarkable accomplishment with Professor Nussbaum. The Holberg Award is, of course, named for Danish-Norwegian writer Ludwig Holberg. Not only did Holberg excel in all of the disciplines celebrated by the award, he was also renowned for his work as a playwright and an author, and for bringing the Enlightenment to the Nordic countries in the 18th century. And as we today reflect on Holberg's legacy, two aspects of it stand out in connection to Professor Nussbaum and her contributions. First, excellence in scholarship and teaching across a number of disciplines. Second, groundbreaking yet practical applications of knowledge shared with the broader public. Since its founding, the mission of the University of Chicago has been the pursuit of academic excellence. And it's done this in at least three distinctive ways. First, to study the most important phenomena and the most consequential questions. And second, to think and analyze deeply, ambitiously, and to be unafraid to challenge existing paradigms and to establish new paradigms. And third, to empower students with a rigorous and transformative education. The interdisciplinary approach to intellectual inquiry is a core component of this pursuit of academic excellence, and it is an essential characteristic of the University of Chicago's distinctive culture. In her scholarly life, Professor Nussbaum exemplifies this spirit of intellectual inquiry, especially the championing of the interdisciplinary approach and scholarly excellence in multiple fields. Professor Nussbaum is the Ernst Freund Distinguished Service Professor of Law and Ethics, appointed in the law school and in the philosophy department. She is also an associate in the classics department, the divinity school, the political science department, a member of the Committee on Southern Asian Studies, and a board member of the university's Human Rights Program. Her teaching, which is much in demand, engages all of these units across the university. It's difficult to overstate the impact Professor Nussbaum has had at the university in fostering interdisciplinary collaboration through cross-campus lectures, conferences, courses, workshops, and many other endeavors. Professor Nussbaum is unique among classicists, philosophers, and legal scholars in her ability to explore an immense range of topics and disciplines with scholarly and conceptual sophistication. She is a prolific scholar. The sheer volume of her work is matched only by the depth of each of her contributions to our understanding of the human experience. Professor Nussbaum has an extraordinary ability to weave together the humanities and the social sciences, theology, and law. She has also engaged ancient and modern literature, education, economics. Professor Nussbaum's commitment to collaboration and interdisciplinary is so persuasive that she has made our law school the only one that regularly hosts a conference on law and literature. And we are certainly the only law school with a conference on law and literature that has theatrical performances enacted by students, faculty, even judges, maybe even deans. Ludwig Holberg played a critical role in bringing the principles and disciplines of the Enlightenment to the Nordic countries, and so too does Professor Nussbaum bring humanistic values to academic disciplines that are not primarily humanistic, as well as bringing humanistic values to the public discourse. The Holberg Committee stated, and here I quote, "Professor Nussbaum is one of the world's leading intellectuals and a prominent advocate for the humanities, for the value of reason and compassion in public affairs. While Professor Nussbaum's eminence in her fields of academic endeavor is unquestionable, what is particularly admirable is her dedication to the task of putting her knowledge to work towards making real and lasting differences to people across the world. The extraordinary contributions of Professor Nussbaum make her a worthy recipient of the 2021 Holberg Prize. I believe Ludwig Holberg would agree. Congratulations, Martha." And before we continue with our program, I'd like to thank the representatives of the Norwegian consulates, Ms. Harriet E. Berg and Ms. Susan Meyer, as well as the administrators at the University of Bergen, the Holberg Committee, Board, and its administrators. Thank you for your dedication to ensuring that the challenges of this moment would not prevent us from having a proper celebration of the 2021 Holberg Prize. And thank you as well to our colleagues from the Law School, the Humanities Division, the Divinity School, and from units all across campus. It's always special for faculty from all across campus to convene. It's very special to do so, to recognize the intellectual achievements of one of our colleagues. And it's outstanding to do it today to celebrate the first faculty member at this university to receive the Holberg Prize, and especially after the extraordinary 15 months for all of us to gather here in person today. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the Consul General of the Royal Norwegian Consulate of New York, Ms. Harriet E. Berg, to proceed with our program. Please join me in welcoming Consul General Berg.
Thank you. Laureates, distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends of the laureate. As the Norwegian Consul General in New York, it's my profound honor to represent the Norwegian government at this award ceremony for the recipient of the 2021 Holberg Prize, which is awarded annually for groundbreaking contributions to research in the humanities, social sciences, law, and theology. Under normal circumstances, the Norwegian government would welcome the laureate to a week of celebrations in Bergen and Oslo in early June. This will not be possible this year due to the entry restrictions that still follow from the pandemic. But I'm very pleased that we can have this award ceremony here in this beautiful room, and that we can also then follow that next week when it's shown again. And I'm very grateful to the university and to the law school to make this possible. The Holberg Prize was established, as we heard, by the Norwegian Parliament in 2003. And it's intended to increase society's awareness of the importance of research in the humanities, social sciences, law, and theology. By celebrating the academic work done by the world's foremost scholars, the award is also meant to inspire excellence in new generations of researchers. The prize is administered by the University of Bergen on behalf of the Norwegian Ministry of Education and Research. The university has appointed a board for the Holberg Prize, and each year the board selects a recipient of the prize on the basis of a recommendation from an international academic committee. The committee reviews candidates nominated by academics worldwide. Every year, the prize is awarded to an outstanding scholar within the research areas covered by the prize, either within one discipline or through interdisciplinary work. The laureate must have had a decisive influence on international research. The current value of the prize is 6 million Norwegian kroner, which is approximately $730,000 US. On behalf of the Ministry of Education and Research and the University of Bergen, and on the recommendation of the Holberg Committee, the board of the Holberg Prize has decided that this year's Holberg Prize goes to Professor Martha C. Nussbaum. Martha C. Nussbaum is the Ernst Freund Distinguished Service Professor of Law and Ethics at the University of Chicago, with a joint appointment in the Law School and Philosophy Department. Her research interests include ancient Greek and Roman philosophy, political philosophy, philosophy of literature, feminism, music, and ethics, as well as animal rights. Professor Nussbaum received her PhD from Harvard in 1975. She has taught at Harvard University, the Brown University, and Oxford University. To date, Nussbaum has written 27 books and 3 are in progress. In addition, she has published about 500 articles and edited 26 books. Her books have been translated into 24 languages. Nussbaum's numerous awards include the Berggruen Prize in Philosophy and Culture in 2018 and the Kyoto Prize in Arts and Philosophy in 2016. Nussbaum has received honorary degrees from over 60 colleges and universities in the US, Canada, Latin America, Asia, Africa, and Europe. She is an academician in the Academy of Finland, a fellow of the British Academy, and a member of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. She is also a member of the American Philosophical Society, where she was president of the Central Division from 1999 to 2000. In their citation, the Holberg Committee writes, Martha C. Nussbaum's work combines a rigorous training in classics with a broad engagement with many themes and schools in the contemporary humanities and social sciences. Her writing is always scrupulous about arguments, perceptive about human emotions and vulnerability, and attentive to the realities of human situations, social interactions, and the many forms of dependence and interdependence that can rise within them. Professor Nussbaum's influence and impact extend well beyond her own discipline, and she has demonstrated an exceptional commitment to the task of distributing the benefits of academic knowledge to a wider public. Her earliest work concentrated on matters of ancient Greek and Roman philosophy, and her 1978 edition and commentary on Aristotle's De Motu Animalium remains a seminal work on Aristotelian philosophy of mind and nature. In The Fragility of Goodness in 1986 and The Therapy of Desire in 1994, Nussbaum drew on the Stoic notion of the cognitive nature of emotions and developed her interest in how philosophy and literature might together illuminate foundational aspects of a good human life. Her later work has applied this method to explorations of the emotions in human life. These works include Upheavals of Thought from 2001, From Disgust to Humanity 2010, Political Emotions in 2013, and Anger and Forgiveness in 2016. Martha C. Nussbaum has also made important contributions to the humanities more broadly in confronting modern political problems and questions of well-being. Most remarkable is her development of the capabilities approach, an important method for conceptualizing human well-being, now widely used in the measurement of poverty, development, social exclusion and inclusion, and social equality and inequality more broadly conceived. The range of her scholarly contributions is extensive, engaging with debates in feminist philosophy, disability studies, law, gender studies, animal rights, and the philosophy of cosmopolitanism. In all of these areas, she has been distinctive, passionate, powerful, and a much-needed voice. Truly a public philosopher, her work has reached wide audiences across the world, as well as influenced many areas of knowledge. Nussbaum is one of the world's leading intellectuals and a prominent advocate for the humanities and for the value of reason and compassion in public affairs. While Nussbaum's eminence in her fields of academic endeavor is unquestionable, what is particularly admirable is her dedication to the task of putting her knowledge to work towards making a real and lasting difference to people across the world. And this is what the committee says. For these reasons and many more, Martha C. Nussbaum is a highly worthy recipient of the 2021 Holberg Prize. So now I ask Martha C. Nussbaum to join me on the podium to receive the 2021 Holberg Prize. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Beautiful medal. So I better put it back. I'm immensely grateful to the government of Norway for the honor of this prize. It's wonderful that two representatives of that government are present here, Consul General Harriet Berg from New York and Honorary Consul Susan Meyer from Chicago. And it's very fitting, though originally unintended, that this ceremony is taking place on the campus of the University of Chicago, where I found a happy home since 1995. I couldn't do my work without this great university, both its law school and its philosophy department, which have created an ideal environment for work and teaching. If I singled out all the individuals I would actually like to thank, starting as I'd have to with my family and my elementary and high school teachers, this speech would go on, and I would be played off the stage like those self-indulgent speakers at the Academy Award presentations. So I'll just stick to this university. I want to thank the three deans who are present here. Dean Tom Miles of the law school, who, by the way, is a marvelous actor. He alluded to that, so I will also allude to it. Dean Ann Robertson of the Humanities Division, and Dean David Nierenberg of the Divinity School. Above all, though, my life is spent in the philosophy department, whose outstanding chair, Michael Kramer, is unfortunately not able to be here today, where over the years I've worked with such marvelous graduate students who tell me exactly where I'm wrong and who do new creative work that inspires me, and in the law school, where the students are terrific and often mingle valuably in classes and seminars with the philosophy graduate students, since unlike law students in most countries, they have a liberal arts background before starting law and are comparable to our best PhD students. I want particularly to mention the rich faculty culture of the law school, where so many of my manuscripts have been poked and prodded by critical questions in the Socratic spirit. People are so generous, giving their time to others. I remember one Friday afternoon when I finished a draft of a lecture I'd been working on for a long time, and I was pretty nervous about the occasion and the lecture, sending it to 6 of my law colleagues that afternoon. And by Monday, I had received immensely helpful written comments from all 6. I hope I match that in my conduct, but it's a daunting standard to live up to. If there's just one individual whom I must thank by name, it is my frequent co-author, Saul Levmore, who unfortunately is unable to be with us today. He never lets me become complacent. He always tells me that I'm wrong and why. And I hope that, rather like those Roman friends, Cicero and Atticus, our exchanges and even jokes improve both our insights into the highly relevant theme of aging, on which we co-authored a book in 2017, but also improve the actual experience of aging. My career has focused on two areas: normative theorizing about justice and investigation of the nature and role of the emotions. Increasingly, I've been bringing the two together and thinking of the role emotions play in moving us toward, or as the case may be, away from a just and decent society. All of this work has been continually nourished by my long study of the history of Greek and Roman philosophy, very much including the philosophical elements of literature. Of music too, but there's no time to say more about that today. In the process, I've also made an attempt to address a wider public and to play the role of what people sometimes call a public philosopher, something that's very difficult to do in this country. But I've tried to do it always in a way that upholds philosophical standards and honors the work of other thinkers past and present. The Holberg Prize is that rare prize that singles out the humanities, so often ignored in our public culture and so much in need of more support today. Our society, like Norway, has come through a great and terrible trauma. We're starting to come out the other side of that darkness, as the Mozart aria I've chosen, Un moto di gioia, depicts. And I want to thank Patrice Michaels, not only a wonderful artist, but also a great teacher of struggling voice students, including me, for being here to sing it. Prominent in our shared experience in this dark time have been many emotions that have been both personal and part of our shared public life: fear, grief, and all too often anger. Because I think anger is especially dangerous and destructive in our political life, let me dwell for a moment on that emotion, showing how a philosophical approach to the emotion of anger and the fear that so often underlies it can help us come to grips with the challenges of our political moment, a theme I've written about in my books Anger and Forgiveness and The Monarchy of Fear. So this is only a tiny sketch of a much fuller argument. Let me start with a literary depiction of retributive anger, the final play of the Oresteia of Aeschylus. As the play opens, and we actually did perform this at the law school, we see a group of ugly creatures, half human, half beast, crouching on the ground. These are the Furies, goddesses who embody the human desire for retributive payback. As Aeschylus describes them, they're black, hideous. Their eyes drip a foul liquid. They even are said by the god Apollo, who was Tom Miles over there, to vomit up clots of blood that they've ingested from their prey. Their only words at first are a predator's hunting cry: "Get him, get him, get him." I see Emily Buss, one of those Furies, in front of me, a rather daunting sight. But by the end of the play, they've been transformed. They have not simply accepted the constraints of the rule of law, joining the new democracy. They've also, and most important of all, given up the retributive part of their anger. They now look forward and not back. They vigilantly protect citizens from crime, but for the sake of future welfare, not for the sake of payback. To go further, however, we need a philosophical analysis. And in the Western tradition, the definition of anger that influences all subsequent thinkers is Aristotle's. It's actually quite similar to definitions in Indian philosophy, the reason why I've included an expert in those traditions in our upcoming Holberg Symposium. Aristotle says that anger is a painful response to a significant damage, a damage done to something or someone that the angry person cares a lot about, and a damage that the person believes to have been wrongfully inflicted, not just accidental. So far, so uncontroversial, and anger so defined, seems not necessarily bad or destructive, but an ingredient of a good society's confrontation with wrongdoing. But then the Furies enter. Aristotle claims that a wish for retributive payback, some sort of pain for pain, is an essential part of anger as commonly experienced. This needs a long discussion, but if we cut to the chase, I think Aristotle is basically correct. When we're angry, we all too often do want the wrongdoer to suffer, if only through punishment or even divine intervention. Or even more subtly, we find ourselves wishing that the person who wronged us will simply have a very bad life in the future, that the second marriage of your betraying spouse is a dismal failure. But the idea of retributive payback, though ubiquitous and deeply human, is empty and quite unhelpful if what we want is to change the future, which is the only thing we can change. Capital punishment does not bring back the life that was lost, although many survivors of murdered loved ones become obsessed with it as if it does some real good. Punitive litigation does not make a new future after a broken marriage, and so on. Now, I actually had a different view about anger until about 2015, but I changed my mind as a result of critical and self-critical reflection. It's surprisingly delightful to change one's mind. We should all do a lot more of it, I think. So, in my recent work, I then investigated the futility of anger at greater length and show how this kind of empty thinking is often closely linked to fear and insecurity, to an underlying sense of powerlessness that reaches back to infantile experience, but that is exacerbated in times of personal or social unrest. Feeling powerless, we want control in an uncertain world, and anger gives us the illusion of control. Inflicting pain on someone feels powerful and distracts us from the task of making a productive life. In politics, this is especially true. Our nation right now, in the wake of COVID, has many real political and economic problems to solve. Economic uncertainties, the claims of immigrants and asylum seekers, the just demands of long marginalized people and groups. It's easy and human to feel helpless in the face of such problems. How easy, then, to turn to anger and scapegoating, imagining that inflicting pain on our opponents will fix the problem. We're consequently seeing these days a veritable epidemic of anger on airplanes, at sporting events, and the far more sinister instances of racial and anti-Semitic hate crimes, not to mention the recent assault on our nation's capital, a hideous explosion of retributive fantasy. And note that this way of reacting is bad whether the opponent has actually wronged you or not. Even real wrongs need to be addressed in a constructive and cooperative spirit, not in the spirit of those furies. But my Aristotelian analysis also shows us where progress can be made. There is a conceptual separation between protest and payback. We can have outrage at wrongdoing and commit ourselves to correcting it without doing so in a backward-looking retributive spirit. There's a type of anger, which I call transition anger, that keeps outrage at wrongdoing, but makes a transition turning to face forward, dropping payback in favor of making a better future. That's what happened to those furies in the play. To use the words of Martin Luther King, Jr., who reflected profoundly about anger almost 2,500 years after Aeschylus, the anger of those furies has been purified. That's what King said had to happen with the anger of Americans, including those in his movement. They had to give up the retributive part of their anger, which is, to use his words, confused and not radical, while keeping a future-directed outrage at wrongdoing and a truly radical commitment to pursue future justice constructively, with hope and faith in the future, and a love of human beings, even one's enemies. Philosophical analysis, animated by literary imagination, does not solve our problems. For that, we need sound economic planning, historical and scientific knowledge, psychology and psychotherapy, and multidisciplinary cooperations of many sorts. But philosophy can help us understand ourselves and see where the problems lie. And it can also help us identify some not very productive ways to respond to them. In its methods, philosophy also embodies a part of the solution, a decent, respectful, rational, and imaginatively engaged way of relating to other people. In these two related ways, philosophy contributes to the task that is always ahead of us, in Aeschylus' time and in our own, since we always must face forward wherever we are, of building a constructive, loving, and non-retributive society that doesn't play childish payback games, but genuinely pursues human welfare. Thank you very much.
I'm Ann Walters Robertson, Dean of the Division of the Humanities, and I join Dean Miles and Consul General Berg in congratulating Martha Nussbaum on her receipt of the Holberg Prize. Martha's leadership and accomplishments in the humanities are many and varied, as you've just heard. I have the pleasure today of focusing on one aspect of her humanistic achievements, and that is her love of and scholarly work in music. Now, Martha comes from a highly musical family, and it is no surprise that she has been involved in music throughout her life and her career. Indeed, one of her future book projects is a study of Mozart's operas and their descendants. It will be titled The Republic of Love, Opera, Breath, and Freedom, and this title serves as a counterpart to that of her 2018 book, which she mentioned, The Monarchy of Fear. The Republic of Love will explore Mozart's passionate commitment to replace the rule of fear and hierarchy with a reciprocity based on brotherhood, love, and joy. Given Martha's involvement with music, it seemed appropriate for our musical interlude today to reflect her great love of opera. And in consultation with her, we selected an aria that Martha mentioned, Un moto di gioia, from the 1789 Vienna revival of Mozart's Marriage of Figaro. This aria, sung by Susanna in Act 2, though usually cut in performance of the work, dramatizes the welling up of joy in her heart in the midst of pain and terror. Sometimes, she says, happiness grows after pain, and as the aria tells us, when one believes the danger is greatest, one sees shining a greater calm. This work is especially important to Martha because, as she has written, what Susanna says is not just true of individuals. It offers a wish for our grief-stricken nations, that joy and calm may succeed the pain we have all lived with during the past year, and that we may all be ruled by joy and fellowship rather than fear. Joining us today to perform this aria are Patrice Michaels and Claire Longendijk. Patrice Michaels is an internationally renowned soprano who has performed extensively in recital and in operatic roles, including productions of Beethoven's Fidelio and Leonard Bernstein's Candide. She's also a composer and recording artist, and she serves as lecturer and director of vocal studies in our music department. Claire Longendijk is a prize-winning soloist and chamber musician who has performed across Europe and North America. She too serves as lecturer and as piano artist in residence and director of chamber music program in the music department. We're most grateful to Patrice and Claire for taking part in the celebration of Martha's Holberg Prize. And I'll invite you to the stage now.
Thank you very much, Ms. Michaels, Ms. Longendijk. That performance was spectacular. So we will continue our program in a moment, but before we do, I want to thank all of our participants today in the program, especially our colleagues from all across the Midway and all across the university joining us. I want to thank Professor Nussbaum's guests for joining us today for the celebration as well. And of course, I want to express my thanks to the University of Bergen, the Holberg Prize Committee and Board, and the Norwegian Consulate for hosting this important event here at the University of Chicago. We're very, very grateful to their partnership in this event. I invite everyone to make your way across the room to our reception space. Please feel free to partake of a refreshment, enjoy the view, admire the painting, and everyone please extend your congratulations again to Martha. And again, thank you all for being here today. Please join me in another round of applause.